Meanwhile, SADTU has raised concerns with the Basic Education Department's decision to commence with schooling on Monday. Minister Angie Motshekga earlier briefed the media on her department's readiness to reopen the doors of learning following suspension of classes. President Cyril Ramaphosa announced the closure in June following a surge in COVID-19 cases. And while Ramaphosa is expected to give the final decision on the reopening tomorrow night, SADTU General Secretary Mugwena Maluleke says they are not happy with some issues.
We cannot have a situation where more than 2.9 billion has been cut from the education budget, and that translates basically in some provinces to 7 billion, 5 billion per province in terms of the cut in the budget of education when we are facing a pandemic, but also facing the apartheid legacy in terms of the backlogs, in terms of infrastructure, especially water and ablution facilities. The other concern really is how we conceptualize, and the department keep on forgetting that a school consists of parents and grandparents and the teachers and the education personnel. It's not only that they are only learners and then they are saying learners are not susceptible to transmission or the infection. So when the learner is infected, basically you must be concerned about the parents and the grandparents, and therefore we need a tangible plan in terms of how we're going to track and trace those who will be infected.
Maluleke has also expressed disgust on those attacking school infrastructure. This follows the minister's announcement that over 100 schools have been vandalized in some parts of Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal since the beginning of the year.
Concerns are in terms of the vandalism. Really, we are saying that as the community and the people of South Africa, we've got to stand up and really stand in solidarity with our schools and protect the future of our children. Vandalizing the schools is the looting of the future of this country and the future of our children. And we cannot stand by and just look at the schools being vandalized. I mean, we are a sick society where you attack the future, where you destroy what is going to build.
Let's get reaction now on the story, and we're joined by the General Secretary for the National Association of School Governing Bodies, Matakanye Matakanye. Good evening, and thank you so much for your time tonight. Let's begin then with your reaction for the announcement that schools are ready to be opened come Monday.
Good evening, Bongiwe, and all your listeners. And we want to send our deepest condolences to the teachers who passed on, as well as parents and children who passed on during the time of the uprising. We want to say to them, we are there, we look after everybody, they would get support from us. We are so deeply sorry. But we also want to send a clear message to the criminals out there that hands off our schools, hands off our schools. And it is time that the community, parents, school governing bodies stand up and tell these criminals that they must not come and play around with our future. We support the minister in whatever she said. We are behind that. We have been fighting with the Department of Basic Education to say there must be education for our children. When there were some people out there who were saying, no, schools must close, and reminding them that, look, you are saying schools must close, but we don't know when will this pandemic come to an end. And it has proven that this pandemic, we must just learn to live with it so that our children, and we are also excited that our children grade R and grade 7 are all going back, because we're so worried that we will have the so-called lost generation if we are not careful with the grade R to the grade 7s. So we are happy, but we want to call upon the Department of Basic Education to strengthen the non-pharmaceutical. I think I agree with the General Secretary of SADTU that those non-negotiables, we really want to remind them that in some schools, they just smell it. There is nothing. And we want to call upon them that as much as we support them, that children must go back, we must also remind them that now they must tighten that area so that our children are protected, as well as our teachers. We know that we have just completed the question of the inauguration of teachers, and we are happy that our teachers are inaugurated, but we still say there must be non-negotiables in place. Even if our teachers are inaugurated, there must be non-negotiables in place so that they are further protected against this.
And Matakanye, I'm not sure if you're still able to hear me, but I just wanted to also, touch on that point that you've mentioned there on the safety, because we heard the department earlier on today presenting a plan on how these non-negotiables are then going to be implemented in different schools, even talking to us about just how some of the buses that are meant to transport some of the learners are going to then, in fact, have been fitted with some sanitizing material in order for them to be able to ensure that their pupils then remain safe. But how sure are we, tonight as we speak, that what is being said by the department will filter through to the different schools? Where does then lie the responsibility to ensure that the schools that are not adhering to this, in fact, are held accountable? And how confident are we that the message will not get lost in between?
Yes, Bongiwe, I think we have our structures on the ground. We have got schools, we have got our branches, we have got our regions, we have got our provinces. Also, we have the school governing bodies in schools. So this message that we are sending, it is going to go on the ground through our structures, and they will carry it on and ensure that all what is possible for our children to go to school is in place.
And as we wrap up our conversation tonight, the President is speaking tomorrow night. Your expectations?
Well, sorry, we are waiting for the President to speak. I really expect that he will support us so that our children go back and further support us in terms of what is not really in place as of now. Like, for instance, question of the running water in some schools, in the rural, deep rural, in the poorer schools, the township schools, the working class schools. Those schools need really additional resources. Then we think that the President can also support us on that so that our children and our teachers are safe in schools.
All right. Thank you so much for your time tonight. Certainly do appreciate it. That was the General Secretary of the National Association of School Governing Bodies, Matakanye Matakanye.